Happy holidays, guys. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm gonna tell you how to do your own research for 2022, some of the most critical things to look at. And make sure you stay tuned in the very end because I'm gonna go over a couple projects that I think have major upside potential that fit into this category. Guys, this video is all about the differences between B2B and B2C. That is business to business and business to consumer blockchains. This is something I have heard nobody talk about, but it's absolutely critical to understand the type of project that you're investing in and if it has a consumer facing product or if it's really just made for business to business. And there's a big critical difference. So what is business to business? A business to business is basically someone who's built a product and their customers are other businesses. Now, why is this important? This is important because in order for a project like this to gain traction and get dominance in the market and to have more demand for those tokens, that means that they're going to have to attract other businesses. And for a business to actually understand a token project and adopt the model that it uses and start using that token is a huge transition for any business, and that's going to take an enormous amount of education from the team trying to sell that product to that business, and a long time before that business actually adopts that model. And all of that effort just goes into one new customer. Where a B2C model is where a crypto project goes out and has something that you or me or anybody can use quickly and instantly, like a DeFi product, like a game, something like that is gonna have much quicker adoption rates than a B2B model. So in this video, we're gonna talk about some B2B models. I'm gonna go down a list of different B2B projects or ideas really. And I'm just gonna tell you how I think as a VC when I go through these and teach you just kind of my mindset just from the idea itself. So you can take an idea of these different ideas, right? Because of course, crypto gaming and metaverse is super hot right now. But what happens if another project comes across your eyeballs and you think, should I invest into this? Is this a good idea? Well, I get 20 or so projects put across my desk every single day. And what I'm going to do in this video is just kind of teach you the thought process I go into on if I think this project has good potential. And I'll also teach you, do I expect something like this to achieve good gains in the short to medium term, or is this something that like probably is not gonna have much appreciation in the short or immediate term and has potential to be massive in the long term? Now, I personally invest in B2B projects, but not as much as B2C, right? So let's go into it. Let me show you some different examples of what I'm talking about. All right, guys. So this says why 98% of B2B blockchain projects have failed. Now, I don't need to read this article because actually it's more information than you need. I'm just going to tell you about it. So let's look at some different B2B blockchain projects categories over here in CoinGecko. We've got the different categories, right? So okay, so we've got storage coin, right? Decentralized file storage or decentralized storage. Now this is a B2B model more often than not. And usually in this B2B categories, the guys that have been building for a long time that have enterprise types of partnerships, they can get some good traction initially. And then it's very hard for anyone else to come and kind of capture any type of market share. So you can see like Filecoin has been around for a while, but it's also a layer one blockchain, same with Arweave, right? But these other ones that are like, these guys are all, these ones in the top here have all been in the market for a while, since like, starting for 2017 or even before. And so you start to see that as we go down here, it starts to drop off pretty considerably. And it's very hard for these guys down here to gain market traction. What else we got? We got oracles. Oracles are a B2B model. They're building a data gathering service for an application. And so these, again, Chainlink, obviously first market mover, but after that, you start to get guys that have a lot of difficulty gaining market traction. Even like Dia or Kylan or Umbrella, they've got they had good marketing, but again, it's just really, really hard because they're B2B plays. And then as you come down here, these guys all just really are having very difficult time getting any type of price appreciation. Another category here is insurance. Now, the insurance on the B2C model, like the Nexus Mutual, for example, is something that has a B2C model. But there are some projects, insurance companies that are actually insuring different protocols, like insuring DeFi apps against a hack, and not just the end user. And that's going to be more difficult to achieve. One of the examples here is Bright Union. Bright Union, very brilliant team, very cool product. And I know that they've actually got some adoption happening from different DeFi protocols at the end of the day, but they don't have that consumer facing aspect. This is why it's hard for them to gain traction. With that being said, I don't think this is a bad project. In fact, I am invested in Bright Union. I think that has good long-term potential. However, it's going to take longer for it to gain traction. Bright Union is probably not going to be something that's going to bounce up to a $1 billion market cap anytime immediately soon. But this, as more and more DeFi projects come into the market, as more projects need insurance themselves, like Paid Network, once we get our paid markets up and running and we've got TVL, we need insurance. Bright Union will be someone that we call on to do that. So what are some other categories? We've got guilds, right? I talked a lot about gaming guilds on this channel. And while guilds have a lot of potential, it's going to take a long time for them to appreciate in value. Like Yield Guild games launched when, the first time you could really buy it on the market was around $5. And it's been fluctuating between $5 and $10. And even though it's a big, massive guild, it doesn't have opportunity for you or me to really do anything with Yield Guild games, unless you want to become a scholar. But again, a scholar in this example is actually another business. So it's onboarding scholars and trying to generate yield. It's going to take longer for these guilds to appreciate in value unless they have a consumer facing end of it, right? So like Master Ventures is partnering with Metavest Capital, and we're building a metaverse investment DAO that also has a guild model attached. Why is that interesting from a price appreciation perspective? That's interesting because we're going to allow consumers like yourself to get involved. We're going to allow you ways to invest into the DAO, put money into it. We're going to allow you to let your NFTs gain yield off of them. So we're incorporating a B2C model as well as a B2B model in our metaverse investment DAO that we're incubating called MetaMasters, which is coming up, guys. It's very early, but we already have a tremendous amount of assets under management, and I'm very excited to bring that to you guys. But again, this is another example of something that's going to take a longer time to gain a lot of traction when it comes down to price appreciation. Now, this is interesting, right? Smart contract platforms, layer 1 protocols, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Terra, Polkadot. Now this is a little bit different because layer 1 protocols are going to be the future Googles, Microsofts, and Apples, right? They're going to be the infrastructure layer for all the applications to be built on top of. And so this is a bit easier for them to gain price appreciation because everyone wants to speculate on what's going to be the next big, massive thing that's going to replace the Googles, the Microsofts, the Windows, etc. But you can see, like, you also need to have incredible marketing because you need to be able to draw the other businesses onto your platform. As a B2B, you really need to be able to attract developers and projects to build on your blockchain. I mean, it's not all about the technology when it comes to a layer 1. Sure, it's important, but it's about marketing and to be able to attract development. And you can see things like, okay, so one example I've talked about on this channel before is something like Everscale. So Everscale, I haven't done the technical due diligence on it, but I've talked to the team and they should be a viable Solana competitor. They have sub-second finality. This is actually the same project Telegram was working on before, but then Telegram got busted by the SEC or whatever. They had to refund investor money and they abandoned the projects. These guys at Everscale actually took over, actually just copied the repository, the GitHub repo, copied the code and started improving on it and finalizing what had been started by Telegram. So Everscale, great technology. However, it is a B2B play. They have to have other people building on their platform and their marketing isn't amazing. And this is something that I've been talking about, project with amazing potential. So you have to ask yourself, as someone who's speculating or potentially investing in a project like this or a B2B project, what is your marketing like? How are you going to be able to attract other businesses, other projects to build or use whatever it is, whatever product it is that you're creating. One example is of this is like Everscale should, for example, down here have something that says something like this. So if I go to these, it should say, if I go to these smart contract platforms, if you look at Solana, for example, and you look under tags, they have a smart contract platform. So you should really have, this is something quite basic that projects should know how important it is to be able to submit to CoinGecko, hey, we are a smart contract platform. Please include us in that category. So then if I'm making a video in the future, let's say I go and make a video about smart contract platforms, and I click on the smart contract platform category under coins, I would want to see, because maybe I'm looking to invest in some smart contract platforms. And so if it's not here on this list, I don't know it exists. And that's a basic marketing thing that these projects should be able to understand and apply. And so this tells you that maybe it's a developer heavy team that doesn't quite understand marketing. And again, this is really incredibly important for B2B plays. Now let's look at these ideas. This is an article I found. It says 31 blockchain business ideas to capitalize on in 2021. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through these 31 things. I'm not going to go over all of them because it'll be a bit redundant. But what I'm going to do is tell you how I would think about this, how I would apply this in my due diligence, in my own research. When, let's say, a project comes to me or I'm researching something and I say, what is this idea? And do I think it'll gain traction, in the short to medium term? So let me go through these quickly and tell you kind of how I would think about all of these. So the first idea they have is e-commerce blockchain business ideas, right? So e-commerce is a fulfilled by Amazon type of thing, Shopify thing, where you need to get other people to sell items, other small businesses to sell items on your platform, right? And one of them is Split. You guys, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that Split is something that I'm very bullish on. But again, they have been building, they did their TGE in February of this year. And I think that February I'm an advisor to Split as well. And I know that February is going to be a huge month for them. And it's a very good buying opportunity right now, in my opinion. But you can see that they have just been focusing on product and partnerships, and it does, because it doesn't have a consumer facing product, it has been pretty much dead for the past year. Look at this. At launch, we put a lot of hype and excitement around it, and they just haven't had the type of, because there's no opportunity for consumer to get excited about this, right? Not yet. The consumers will be using this technology indirectly when businesses start adopting it. Okay, so that's e-commerce. Let me tell you about, let's see, what else? Cloud storage. I talked about cloud storage, right? So cloud storage, we need to get other applications to want to use your storage solution versus Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud, or right, AWS. And those are B2B platforms. Digital wallet. So now digital wallet would be interesting because a consumer is going to use it. And if there's an amazing wallet out there that has a browser extension that allows me to jump from send my USDT from Binance Smart Chain to Ethereum to Avalanche to Polygon without me having to use third parties, I would definitely be using that. If they've got better fees for swapping built in, for example, I would be using that. So a digital wallet is a good example of something that is going to have traction amongst end users. Transferring cryptocurrency around the globe. Now, remittance, we know that remittance is incredibly important in blockchain. What is remittance? That is when, if you have someone from the Philippines or Mexico working in America, for example, they need to send money back home. Right now, their options are something like Western Union or MoneyGram, but those are incredibly expensive. MoneyGram or Western Union are taking 10 to 30, 40% of the funds sent, and that's impossible. So while remittance is interesting as an idea, again, it would take other businesses to adopt your remittance platform or your cryptocurrency platform to be able to have the consumers then come use it. So again, it's going to be a tough thing to use unless you build a decentralized remittance platform. But again, you're still going to need to have that on-ramp. So if I'm working at a restaurant, and I need to send money to another continent, I'm going to have to be able to take my paycheck somehow and then send it to my family back home. And so usually you're gonna have to connect to some type of other business that already has those rails integrated. Ripple, for example, is something that is trying to get adoption from other businesses, from MoneyGram, things like that. They've had a rough time. They don't have a direct consumer-facing product. Even though it shot to the top because the idea of disrupting remittance was huge, so that speculation got Ripple to a high market cap, but they're having a hard time gaining traction and more adoption because, again, there's no consumer-facing product. Peer-to-peer lending, okay, that's something that has very much a consumer-facing product. So I would be interested in investing in something like this. That's something like an Aave, right? That has already very, I don't know why the example is CoinDesk. Oh, to promote. Okay, so talk about marketing, but I'm just talking about peer-to-peer lending anyway. So marketing services again is something that is difficult. One of the projects that we backed that has an incredibly brilliant founder, but is having a difficult time again with traction, again, because there's no consumer-facing product, is Ojamu, for example. Really brilliant founder, awesome guy. I know he's going to deliver. But again, to get people using your product, it's other businesses. Again, it's such a long process. You have to have a sales team. You have to onboard different companies. It'll take years for these guys to gain serious price appreciation, because every time a business adopts that software, it is going to then use a token, but it's not as effective if you can get hundreds of thousands of people using your swapping protocol, your Uniswap, your pancake swaps, your DeFi yield aggregators, whatever it is that I can just jump on my computer and start using your project, is going to be a lot better for adoption, for example. Crowdfund with crypto. This is something that's similar to, let's imagine Kickstarter. In fact, Kickstarter is creating a blockchain project, but this is something similar to what we're doing with IDOs, for example. But crowdfunding would, in traditional business, would use something more like a security token. Okay, let's see what else. Healthcare. So help patients. So we know that things like decentralized identities and patient records for medical services are interesting ideas, very interesting ideas. But again, you're gonna need a doctor's office or a hospital to adopt your technology for it to get some type of adoption. Again, no, but this one does have a consumer-facing use case, but only after, if I put my medical records on chain, that's great, but I need to find now a doctor's office or a hospital that's going to accept these form of medical records. Again, that's going to take first the business adopting it before I can use it as an end user. Same thing with verified medication validity. Again, it's going to take pharmacies or something like that to adopt this technology before it can be used. Authenticate hiring credentials. Again, this is something that's going to have, it's a great idea, right? Your potential employee says they went to Harvard. It would be amazing to be able to go verify that on blockchain. But again, you're going to have to get the universities to accept that before it can be used. So again, big uphill battle for these things to be used. Now, I'm not saying that these will not be adopted. For sure they will. Absolutely. And all the ideas that we've talked about before, the ones that get that traction and have that market adoption are going to be absolute beasts. Let me just show you a couple other projects. Metaverse as a service, Lovelace. I'm very confident about the technology. Brandon, the CEO from this, came from Bondly, and they use some of the same technology that they've been building in Bondly for Lovelace. This is Metaverse as a service. Amazing idea. We would use something like this at Paid Network for our paid markets, which is this business-to-business dispute, our business-to-business agreement platform and arbitration platform for disputes in a metaverse. We don't want to necessarily build our own metaverse from scratch. We would like to use Metaverse as a service. So again, but I am a business or a project, and I'm going to need to use it. So Lovelace, although it's still the metaverse hypey kind of genre, it's still going to take time for this to actually get adoption because it's a B2B. So, and Bright Union I covered already, Everscale I covered already. Argo, one more example. Arweave is an amazing layer 1 blockchain. Argo is going to be something that allows developers to more easily integrate into Arweave. Now again, it's struggling, even though the tech is amazing, the developers have won multiple hackathons, they're brilliant, but they're gonna have to slowly gain adoption, one project or one business at a time. It's gonna take time. Now, let me close this out with saying something like Argo has massive, massive potential. It will take longer, but once it does, when they get that foothold in the market, when they become a dominant force, they will start to gain this is something like Theta. Like Theta, is a B2B kind of play, but it has enterprise relationships like Google and other big, huge enterprises, Fortune 500 companies now using that technology. This is why Theta has become absolutely massive. Same thing, I believe, will happen for Argo. Same thing will happen with Split. Same thing should happen with Lovelace. Also Bright Union. Also probably Everscale if they get their marketing up to date. And even Ojamu. All these B2B platforms have massive upside potential. but you have to be realistic when you invest into them and realize it's going to take time for these to adopt. So what does this all mean? This all means that do your own research. I like to invest in teams. Master Ventures, we have been investing in infrastructure for a very long time in the crypto space. Kraken, Coinbase, Circle, Abra, etc. And they took time, guys. 5-6 years ago, I invested in these things, and now they are becoming very fruitful. I invested in teams, I invested in ideas, and they make a lot of sense. But let's get rid of this get rich quick idea and invest in solid projects that have a long, promising future. With that being said, B2C models have an opportunity to appreciate very quickly. You've seen things like Wi-Fi and like these other DeFi things that allow everybody to use them very easily and integrate. And once you start getting mass, everybody gets excited, they start buying on speculation, and that can create very quickly projects rising to the top because they have a B2C model. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one.